He currently serves as an associate professor of finance and accounting at the School of Management, GSFC University, Vadodara. With over a decade of academic experience and 3 years in the industry, his academic credentials include BBA and MBA in finance, PhD in management, along with several specialized diplomas. He has made remarkable contributions to his field with 24 publications in reputed journals, including Scopus, ABDC, UGC-CARE, and Web of Science. Furthermore, he holds a government-recognized patent under the Intellectual Property Rights Act of 1970 for his pioneering research on techno-innovation and growth of the Indian share market. His academic excellence is reflected in his achievements, including 3 Best Research Paper awards at prestigious international conferences supported by UGC and AICTE. He has also been honored as the best faculty at Parul Institute of Management. His expertise has made him a sought-after resource person and session chair at more than 20 B schools, UGC, HRDCs, and research institutions across the country. A dedicated academician and continuous learner, he has conducted numerous training sessions on analytical software, including SPSS, AMOS, Smart PLS, eViews, Advanced Excel, and R programming. He has also enriched his knowledge by participating in over 20 faculty development programs organized
Madam, you are not audible.
Neha madam, are you there? You are not audible. You are mute.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
No, but we are unable to hear you, madam.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Just give me a minute, please.
Okay, madam.
Now, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, madam, you are audible.
Okay. So, a very good evening, Team RFI, our distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Kunal Soni, sir, and dear participants. A warm welcome to all of you on the second day of this 2 days workshop on project writing for grants and research paper writing. Now, allow me to introduce you all with our distinguished guest speaker for the day, the exceptionally accomplished Dr. Kunal Soni, sir. He currently serves as Associate Professor of Finance and Accounting at the School of Management, GSFC University, Vadodara. With over a decade of academic experience and 3 years in the industry, his academic credentials include a BBA and MBA in finance, PhD in management, along with several specialized diplomas. He has made remarkable contributions to his field with 24 publications in reputed journals, including his Scopus, ABDC, UGC-CARE, and Web of Science. Furthermore, he holds a government-recognized patent under the Intellectual Property Rights Act of 1970 for his pioneering research on techno-innovation and growth of the Indian share market. His academic excellence is reflected in his achievements, including 3 Best Research Paper awards at prestigious international conferences supported by UGC and AICTE. He has also been honored as the best faculty at Parul Institute of Management. His expertise has made him a sought-after resource person and session chair at more than 20 B schools, UGC, HRDCs, and research institutions across the country. A dedicated academician and continuous learner, he has conducted numerous training sessions on analytical software, including SPSS, AMOS, Smart PLS, eViews, Advanced Excel, and R programming. He has also enriched his knowledge by participating in over 20 faculty development programs organized by premier institutions such as IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Visakhapatnam. With 90 research papers presented at national and international forums and 70 seminars and workshops conducted, he continues to be a beacon of knowledge and innovation in the domains of finance, accounting, and management. So let us all extend a very warm and cordial welcome to Dr. Kunal Soni, sir. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Yeah. Good evening, all. Just confirm the screen sharing, madam.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Yeah. Yeah. I hope the screen is visible to everyone.
Not yet, sir.
Right. Right. Okay.
Yes, sir. Now it's started.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. Thank you for confirming. Okay. So good evening, one and all. Right. So topic for today is, research paper writings. Right. So previously, and you have already covered for how to write research grant. So if at all you are going for research grant and you are, you are applying for the research perspective, the fundamental and the technicalities for all the aspects remain same. There are a few fundamental things and there are a few parameters that everywhere we have to take in care. And if we take care of those parameters, I think we would be able to draft our, research paper into right directions. And we would be able to park our research paper at the good platform. Whether you are going for research grant into good research grant company, or if at all you are planning to publish your paper into good quality journals like, Scopus, ABDC, Web of Science, Taylor and Francis, and so on. So research is all about, the skills, technicalities that we have to take care at each and every steps, right? So I think the research is not too easy, but I think it is not too hard also. If we take care all those things into proper way, right? So we would be able to justify in a, scientific way, because there are few parameters of research that we have to answer being a researcher, where no theory and no no theoretical fundamentals is going to applicable, right? But the practicality and the practical exposures and practical parameters that we have to observe from the market. So this is the compulsion that we have to incorporate into our research work. So this is what it's all about, to draft a research paper. So it always starts with research idea generations, right? So there is one fundamental, how to generate the idea. If at all I have the idea, but how to start my research? So this is the fundamental questions that every researcher who is starting from the beginning, right? So they always have this kind of doubts in the mind, right? So, there are few parameters, that we have to see. Previously, if I talk about the publication perspective, let's say if you are going for Scopus, ABDC, Web of Science journal. So previously there was a time, where the people were not that much aware about the statistical and, the applications of the various kinds of tests, right? So at that point of time, there was so many impose, on the ground of which sort of data analysis tools we have applied and how you have interpreted those results and how you have brought the findings and conclusion at the last. But now slightly the situation has shifted, because many of the people have already have the commands on this kind of data analysis tools and techniques. So little bit the concentration efforts from the publisher, from the editors, and from the reviewers has slightly shifted, and it is very very although it is a very light and non visible things, but in terms of the effect that we take into consideration as far as the research paper publication is concerned. So it has a lot of impact as far as from the author's point of view, or you can say the writer's point of view, because we have to take care all those parameters into consideration if we are planning to submit our paper, and if we are planning to accept our paper into kind of right kind of journal. So this is very very important to take those things into consideration. So the things which I was talking about as a part of shifting is the introduction and a literature review part should be very appropriate. Firstly, the research paper should be systematically literature reviewed, right? At every point of time, whatever, even a single line that you are drafting, it should be backed by some authors. So first of all, it should be systematically literature reviewed, right? It should be systematically reviewed from each and every authors. So it has to be backed and supported by someone who has done the work in the past on the research topic where you are planning to writing the paper, right? So introduction should be completely justified. Literature review should be completely justified. Is it sufficient that we should put all those things as a part of systematic literature review? So I think it is no, right? Because even systematic literature review has certain parameters that we have to keep in our mind, right? So what sort of things that we have to keep in our mind? So firstly, the theoretical backgrounds, or rather I can say the first paragraph of the introduction should be consist of the conceptual model that we are planning to submit on this particular topic. So conceptual model, conceptual framing of the model is very, very important as far as your research idea generation is concerned, right? So first of all, we have to focus upon the conceptual planning, conceptual model that we are trying to build up, and we have to explain those theory into align with our own topic, right? So this is first aspect that we have to see. I'll gradually shifting you towards the research idea generation, right? So once this paragraph has been over, in the second paragraph, you must have to critically, review all those authors to whom you are considering to be the great paper. But although you found out certain limitations in this paper, which is called the limitations of the previous authors who have done the research work on this particular parameter. So you are critically reviewed those papers, and out of those papers, you must have find out certain limitations, that every researcher needs to overcome, as far as their research paper is concerned, their, quality research paper is concerned. So this is the second paragraph that we have to consist. Now, what is the third paragraph that we have to see? So the third paragraph is aligned with the second paragraph, that in third paragraph, whatever limitations of research that we have noticed, from the previous researcher, so how these limitations we are going to overcome into our own research work in a step-by-step, consideration, right? So step by step, you have to explain, right? So this was the limitation, and this limitation you are going to overcome in your paper in this manner, right? So step by step guidance you have to give it, in terms of the third paragraph. And the difference between the limitations that you have observed in the previous researcher and the plan that you are submitting to overcome those limitations out of this. So this difference point is called research gap. This research gap is nothing but the research idea that you want to prove, the fundamental, the base that you are planning to submit your research paper. So this is what it's called, research idea generation. So many a times I conduct many sessions, at various platforms. So this is a basic questions that, I usually get from every researcher, So the, what is the research gap? How to find out the research gap? So this is very pinching point, very painful task for every researcher to identify the research gap. So this is how you can identify the research gap. Firstly, you have to build up your conceptual model from those authors. From those authors only, you have to find out the limitations that you noticed, and you should have some supporting plan to overcome those limitations. I'm not saying completely, even it is a partially, then also it is okay, right? So this is where it is, you are trying something extra to the society, and that is where your research is going to prove at the unique level. You have to provide some USP in your research, which has not been, found out and, identifiable easily from the previous researcher at the various platforms. Right. So this is how you can, generate the research idea. So that is what it's called, research idea generation. This is the topic that we are going to discuss. Right. So research process we need to understand, so how we can get this research idea generation. So research idea always start with literature review, right? So as I already mentioned, we have to do the systematic literature review, right? We have to understand what work that has been done by the past author on this particular topic. If this topic is outdated, then what else I can contribute in this particular topic? So all those things, all those parameters, if you need to systematically review, that can be reviewed from the literature, right? So literature is a backbone for every research work. If this has to be done properly, I think the chances of accepting your paper into good quality journals are always going to be on the higher side, right? So that is where literature review is going to matter for all of you. And once the literature review has been done, so based on that, literature review, you might have certain problems, which I already mentioned that is a part of limitations, right? So here the limitations needs to define, and how these limitations, will be answered, and these limitations can be answered is nothing but the research gap, and these answers can be, provided by asking the questions, or rather I can say by putting the questions, how, what I am going to do in my research work, right? So that is called empirical research question that I need to deploy, that I need to put in my research work, right? So that is called empirical research question that I need to generate. that I need to execute in my research work, right? So that is where it is called empirical research questions to be operationalized. Once the question has to be designed, so this research questions are very, very important. These research questions are nothing but basically defines the objective of your study that you are going to prove, right? It basically defines the objective based on the research gap, or you can say the theoretical formulation of research problem, right? So this is based on research gap. So here you have defined certain questions based on objective, and this question you will have already incorporated. Either if it is primary study, then it is incorporated in your questionnaire, or if it is secondary study, then you must have identified the variables, you must have identified the variables for which you are planning to collect the data, right? Either it should be questionnaire, or either it should be variables for which you are planning to cover up the data, right? So this is how the different variables and questions needs to be defined. This needs to be answered, right? So questionnaire and variables needs to be identified. Based on the variables, and questions that we have defined, we must have to define the research design, right? So research design is everything, So how the entire, execution of the research work is going to happen in your research paper, So this is where the research design plays a very pivotal role as far as the journey of researcher is concerned in the right manner. Yeah. So research design is consisting everything, from the, general, developing the questionnaire, and based on questionnaire, how you can collect the data from the market, who will be your target audience from the market. If your target audience is this, so based on the population size that you have it, how much the sample size that we need to take into consideration, right? If we have this amount of sample size, then how this sample needs to be covered up? Is it going to be random sample? Is it going to be convenient sample? Is it going to be probabilistic? Is it going to be non-probabilistic? So all sort of things that we have to define. If we have defined those things, is it going to be cross-sectional? Is it going to be longitudinal? Is it going to be historical research? Right. So all those questions which have to be answered as a part of research design, right? So this is where the entire blueprint of the further research that you have to do as a part of, the conclusion, from data collection to conclusion. Those parameters you have to define at the stage of research design well in advance. Very, very important. You should be very clear in terms of the blueprint of the research that you need to carry out. If you are not clear, I think you are making mistakes, right? So that is where research design needs to be very clear, very proper, very appropriate. Clear? So based on research design, we have to go for data collection, right? So here we have to go for data collection. Our data collection is also very, very important parameter for all the researchers. The data collection could be done either through primary data, or it could be for the secondary data, right? So primary data, you can cover up the data from the questionnaire, right? If it is primary study, or, if you are going to collect the data from the respondent. And if it is secondary data, then you have to go for the various portal, and you must have to download those data as a part of data analysis, right? So you have to also see, and you have to also go for the data collection, depending upon the objective that you have already defined in the empirical research questions that is over this stage, right? So how you are going to collect the data, it is completely depends upon how the questions and the objective that you have framed. And according to the objective, you will try to accommodate the right kind of data. And the same thing you are trying to incorporate as a part of data collection. Once the data has been collected, so data can be collected in various forms. It could be nominal scale. It should be in ordinal scale. It should be in scale data as well. That is in pure number. So which sort of data analysis tool needs to be applied? So it is also a huge science, and it's a big science. Sometimes people are unaware about the types of data, and they are randomly applying the data analysis tools and techniques. But I think this is a wrong way, this is a wrong tactic, and this is a wrong practices. Because software doesn't have a mind. Software just have the formula. So sometimes if you're applying any sort of data into software will generate the results. But does this suffice the purpose of data analysis? No. If you are applying the wrong kind of data in the wrong, application of data analysis tools, then I think you are making mistakes, So data analysis is very scientific parameter and scientific way out that every step you need to take care, and according to that, you have to, justify your research work. So that is where data analysis is one of the important criteria as far as your research is concerned, and it's a backbone for every research, because whatever results that you are trying to justify at every stage and every platform, it is always going to be depends upon data analysis, right? So data analysis needs to be very appropriate. And once your data analysis has been done, you are trying to interpret those results, right? And those results can be answered based on whatever questions that we have defined, right? So here, these two are interlinked with each other, right? Here you have put the question mark, and here you are giving the answer of those questions. And ultimately, if you are giving the answer of this question, that means you are achieving your objective, and this objective you have achieved from the gap, and this gap you have identified from the limitations of the literature review, right? And those limitations of the literature review you have identified with the differentiation of what previous researcher has done and what you are trying to do, something new out of it. So everything is linked and everything is scientifically assigned with each other, as you can notice. And that is where once you are answering those questions in terms of, interpretation, so ultimately you are trying to interpret the results of it, and those results you can always compare, and you can always interpret and always make a differentiation with the past authors, who have proved those research. There would be certain variables, there would be certain parameters for which the researcher has found that consumers are having significant difference of opinion for, FMCG product, right? By in your research, you might have not received any difference of opinion with the consideration of the different industry, different products, different geographical location. So this is where the comparison of the earlier research, right? So that is where the difference that you are creating, or might be you are taking the same area, but the parameters you are taking differently. So I think, you are making differentiation based on the parameters on the same product and same locations. So this is how you can overcome with those limitations, and you can provide the good and qualitative research work to the society, right? So this is how we have to make it, convenient for, researcher and for the audience to read it properly, and, to get it done and to interpret those results in a proper manner, right? So this is going to be very important point. And finally, we have to conclude that this was the gap, this was the problem, this was the questions based on which this was a collection of data, and this is how we have analyzed those results, and based on analysis, this is how we have answered those questions. And ultimately, we are making a comparison that if this researcher has this answer, then our research has something different in comparison to the previous researcher, right? So this is how our research is unique in comparison to the previous researcher, right? So this is how the entire research process is going on. So this is how the entire chain of research that we need to understand. So if we talks about any scientific research work, so these are the basic and common parameters, and these are the basic and common fundamentals that every researcher needs to take care, right? So it could be differentiated, it could be different, depending upon the various journals, various locations, various parameters that we take into consideration. But ultimately, the fundamental and the things we are looking for is almost common. There is no difference out of it, right? So it should be followed by the abstract keywords, introduction, literature review, research methodology. I have already explained there are lot many parameters that we have to see. We will see to it all those parameters in a detailed manner in the next slides. Data analysis and interpretation, findings and conclusion, recommendations of the study, right? So these are the basic fundamentals and parameters that we also have to see as a part of our own research work, right? So this is, the basic and more important fundamentals that every researcher needs to take care as a part of research work. So research design basically, divided into 4 categories, and mainly it is in the 2 categories. The 4 categories is already displayed on the screen, but the 2 important categories, qualitative and quantitative. Now, what is qualitative and what is quantitative? So in a simple example, let's say if I want to evaluate the opinion of the people, right, towards the certain concept, like say opinion of the people towards online banking. So I don't want to do the research by my own, because I have a limitations of the resources. I have the limitations of, the respondent, and I have limitations of the time, which due to which I cannot be reached to every, individual respondent and ask them to give the opinion for the same. So what I can do is, So what I can do is I can critically evaluate the previous researcher's paper, right? I can critically evaluate the previous researcher paper. And once I have gone through those papers, right, I may provide, I may go for every critical parameters of those research in terms of technicalities. And after the evaluation, I may provide my judgment, I may provide my justification that yes, if this was happening due to this, and out of the 10, 15 authors who have already done the significant work on this particular topic like online banking, I can give the judgment of summary that has been noticed by the different researcher in the market. So this is how the qualitative research can be possible, right? In comparison to the qualitative, there is another research which is called quantitative. So how the quantitative research needs to be identified? So quantitative research is purely numbers, right? I have to play with the numbers. So how I can do the quantitative research? So quantitative research means if I'm going to collect the data for my own, right? Let's say if I want to see the perception of the people towards online banking. So instead of covering the research paper and critically evaluating the results in terms of findings and conclusion, I can cover up my own data based on critical evaluation of the literatures, and I will find out the variables which has not been covered up previously, and I can have my questionnaire and I can go for the data collection from every individual respondent to whom I want to target as a part of my data collection, right? So I'm initiating the data collection by my own from myself. And once I will initiate those data collection, I have the data in my hands. And with those data, I would be able to attach those data, and I would be finally, starting the data analysis part into my research work, right? So that is how I'm going with the quantitative data analysis. This is how I'm going with the quantitative research design, right? So that is where I have to go for the numbers. I have to play with the numbers. And this is how the qualitative and quantitative research is going to happen, right? So this is the basic difference between qualitative and quantitative. That is, sometimes qualitative research is also be initiated by the bibliometrics analysis, right? It should be also aligned, it should be also attached with, text metrics analysis. So there are so many things which is evolving into the market. You can have the bibliometrics analysis with the country-wise research which is happening on particular topic. You can also have the analysis of qualitative research, with the data visualization techniques of VOS, viewers, and all this. Right. So you have the techniques through which you can also find out who is the great authors in the particular topic or area in which I want to do the work. Right. So that is where you have certain visibility in the market, or even if you want that this person is good in terms of research in your domain or area, and you want to contact him, and you want to ask some reading material or the paper which you like to be more suitable on the topic that you want to do the research. So always you can contact them, you can always ask them to provide those material, and you can give the better shape to your research work for the future reference. So this is how you can collaborate. This is how you can make a networking activities with the different researchers, right? So this is how you can go for it. Nomothetic is for the individual reference, research, and ideographic means it's a group of research, right? So this is not much importance as far as social studies is concerned. But yes, for a reference purpose, you can, remember it. But yes, qualitative and quantitative are two important parameters that we must have to take care. Now, let's try to understand and differentiate between qualitative and quantitative research. So qualitative research is generally deals in the words, that is in, speeches, the person who speaks. It should be based on image. Let's say if I'm saying that, you see the image and tell what you feel. So it should not be there that every person has the same feeling by looking at the same image. But different person has different perception, different imagination, and different way of imagining those things, right? So this is how the qualitative research is going to differentiate depending upon the person to person, perception to perception, and belief system, right? So this is how qualitative research is working. It's purely working on personal belief, opinion, and all those aspects, right? While if I talk about quantitative research, so this research is basically deals in numbers. It purely works on logics and the objective, right? What is the logic? What is, the numbers? What is, how the numbers work? 2 plus 2 is always 4, right? So no one can say that 2 plus 2 is 22. right? So 2 plus 2, 22 is qualitative. The 2 plus 2 is 4 is quantitative, right? So it purely numbers, it has certain criteria, it has certain scientific backgrounds that's based on which the results can be obtained, right? So this is how the quantitative research and qualitative research can be differentiated, right? If you collect the data by your own and you initiate your research work, like if you talk about banks, then you can go for the official website of the RBI. If you are going for mutual fund, then you can go for the apex body of the mutual fund, which is called AMFI. If you are looking for the data for insurance company, then you can go for the official website of the apex body of IRDA, right? So if you are looking for the company's data, then you can go for company's official website, or you can also take those data from the SEBI website, right? So all those things is possible if you are looking for the quantitative research, right? So these are the various platforms, these are the various wayouts through which you can get the data for the analysis perspective. So here we have the comparisons between the qualitative and quantitative research. So first of all, we will discuss from the point of view of objective, why qualitative research needs to be executed. And if not qualitative, then why quantitative research needs to be taken care. So it depends upon the purpose or the objective based on which the researcher wants to start their journey. So the first is, if the qualitative is there, then discovery of new ideas, insights, and feelings, right? So if you want to see the new ideas which is happening into the market, you want to see if something is happening in the world as a part of research. So you want to take the glimpse of the particular research or particular topic or concept that has been evolved by the previous researchers, so you can able to get the particular insights of the particular research that you are looking for. And if you want to see the sentiments and emotions of particular person from the particular research work, so this is also possible that you can have the validation of feelings of all these aspects. On the other hand, quantitative has no feelings, insights, and all this, but it purely based on number, it purely based on facts and figures. And that's why the quantitative research is always believing in on facts, estimations, and relationship, right? Relationship doesn't mean that individual relation, but relation based on the numbers, the variables, number digits that you have taken, and how those numbers are affecting to each other. So that is how you can establish the relationship between different factors, right? So here we are talking about relationship. And types of research, as far as the qualitative and quantitative is concerned. So usually qualitative research is exploratory, where we are trying to explore new factors, new things, new parameters, and the quantitative is basically descriptive and causal. Descriptive means if you want to evolve some new theories, if you want to evolve some new factors, so we have to go for the descriptive analysis. And at the same time, if you want to check that, if this particular factor or if this particular data is affecting to someone, either fully or partially, so we have to go for causal relation, right? So cause and effect relations that we need to measure, right? So how this going to affect to each other, right? So this is called causal relation. Type of questions, if you want to go for it, right? So for qualitative, mostly the questions are open-ended, semi-structured, and unstructured, or it would be probing. And for quantitative, it is mostly structured data, right? So it is mostly structured questions that we have to go for it. That means we are very clear that which parameters we need to cover up, because as I already mentioned, if you are experienced researcher, the data analysis tools and techniques is very scientific, because every analysis tools or every analysis test has certain requirements of types of data. So which kind of data you need it, you should be deciding at the time of designing your questionnaire. Because it is not possible that through the questionnaire and every researcher has covered up the data from the data collection, and then they reached at the stage of data analysis, and then after they feel that this data analysis was wrongly interpreted or wrongly collected. Instead of this way, we should cover up in a different manner. So once you reach at certain level, you cannot have the reverse care. It is completely irrevocable decision. So you should be very scientific at the time of data collection, questionnaire designing, and this is also aligned with the questions that you have put with the research gap. So everything is linked with each other. You can see this. No stage you can put the casual approach, right? Otherwise, it will hamper to your quality of research. And that if you want to publish a research paper into good quality journal, so even a small mistakes can ruin your entire efforts in terms of drafting your paper. And you have to end up with sacrifice to publish your paper into just peer-reviewed journals. So if you want to avoid this kind of mistakes, you have to take care of all those aspects and make sure that you take those things into consideration. Yeah, so that is how you would be able to draft your research paper into the right direction at the right, and at the same time you would be able to park your research paper at the right platform, right? So this is the important parameters that we need to take into consideration. So these are the classification of research design, as I already explained. So if you are going for qualitative research, so we have already designed that, if you are going for qualitative research design, so this is exploratory. We are just explaining, why it is happening, right? Why it is happening, why this particular author feel this, what was the reason, right, out of their findings. So this is qualitative, right? So we are going to explore it, but conclusive means, if you want to establish relations, right, if you want to see the difference, if you want to see the association, so this kind of things could be possible with the quantitative, right, quantitative research, right? So this could be possible with the quantitative research. So this is based on prescriptive and causal. If we are going for causal, right, so basically it is relationship. That is where usually all the regression model that we are applying over here, that is called causal effect. Or sometimes those who are from science background, chemical science, so we know that H2O, right? So H2O, so that means it is one drop of water, right? So if we are making H3O, then what is the effect on this, one drop of water? So if we want to make it effective, one drop of water, right? So what would be the probable solution or the equations that we need to derive? So H2O has not been derived in the first instance, right? The scientist, the researcher has, make sure that the different combinations could be merged together, and they have noted the effect on this, right? They have might also started with HO2, right? So this is called cause and effect, right? What is the impact if one variable or two variable has been injected, and what is the impact on the ultimate output that we are looking for, right? So this is called cause and effect relation. In social science, let's say if I'm making improvement or increase in the expenses, what is the effect on net profit? If I'm making the increase in the taxation rate, what is the impact on net profit? If the GST rate has increased, what is the impact on the sales of that particular product? Right. So this is called cause and effect. Descriptive will have two aspects: cross-sectional and longitudinal. So descriptive means usually for primary research, right? In social science, if you are going for primary research, so descriptive is applicable. Cross-sectional means what? Does anyone has an idea what is the meaning of cross-sectional design? Anyone? What is cross-sectional? Cross-sectional means if you are asking the same questions to the multiple respondent, if you're asking same questions to the multiple respondent, right, at the same time, right, on the same topic, so this is called cross-sectional, right? So you are asking the same questions at the same time to the multiple people. Let's say we have decided that, within 3 months, I want 1,000 responses for my primary study. So this is nothing but cross-sectional research design. But are you going to primary study and you are going to apply, the descriptive, parametric, non-parametric? So you are describing the reasons for this. So a research design could be descriptive, cross-sectional. Right? But if you are going for secondary study and you are making a forecasting of this, so it is longitudinal, right? Descriptive, longitudinal research design, right? But if you are making relationship between different factors and you are trying to establish the relation amongst them, that means what is the effect on Y if I'm making changes in X? That means what is the impact on dependent variable based on the changes and modification that I'm making in independent variable? So this is called causal relation, right? So cause and effect relations we need to establish, right? So this is called causal relations that we have to identify. So if we designed and if we talks about research design mechanisms, so these are the tools that we have to provide. So this is statement of problem, preview of previous research study. That is what I have explained you in terms of limitations and gap. Scope of the study, objectives of the study, hypothesis. Operational definition means I have already explained that, the conceptual models that we have to define. Significance of this study, which area you are covering. Let's say you are doing in Madhya Pradesh. So are you going to study the entire Madhya Pradesh, or you have certain specific cities of Madhya Pradesh like Indore, Bhopal, Malwa, whatever it is, right? Methodology, which methodology you are using in terms of, sampling techniques, research design, clear. Sampling plan, that's what I have explained. Sampling plans cover everything: sampling elements, sampling sample size, sampling techniques, duration of covering the samples, right? So this is called sampling plan. Tools for gathering data, how you are going to cover up the data for, from the market as a part of data collection, right? So this is called various tools and technologies that you are going to use as a part of your data collection. And the next is chapterization schemes, like how the different chapters you have covered up, and with this consideration of the different chapters, what all those chapters are covering, right? That means, let's say if I'm talking about introduction, so what is introduction is all about, literature review is all about, right? So all those things you have to define and you have to give it properly. So this is called, research design mechanism. The statement of problem, as I've already explained, it is always going to be designed based on the limitations of the previous research and what else you are going to provide in this particular research. So this is the difference between the statement of problems, right? So that is where you have seen this, show the relevance of problem and how you can overcome with this problem by having some uniqueness in your research, right? Scope of study. So this scope of study will cover either research area, or that is called geographical location, or particular industry that you are targeting. And parameters means out of this industry, which parameters are you targeting? You are targeting behavior, you are targeting the financial parameters. So this is called the variables, right? So that is where which variable, which locations, which parameters you are targeting as a part of your research. So this is called scope of the study. Objectives. So obviously based on research gap we have defined. So objective needs to be drafted properly. It should be very proper, to the point, should not be too lengthy, should not be too large. It should be to the point, right? And that's why I have mentioned not too much narrow it down, because it is difficult to get adequate information. So we must need to take care one thing in mind, that whatever we are drafting as a part of objectives and questions, it should be readable and it should be, identifiable from the respondent point of view. The respondent should not be misjudged or misinterpret any of the statement that we are trying to put in our research paper. Otherwise, the ultimate aim to get the responses and the results that we are hoping for would not be gettable, which based on our expectation, because the chances of errors are going to be very high. And that's why the objectives can be defined based on various research reports. So let's say if you're going for exploratory, the aim of this concept is the questions asked should be asked with how many, right? Descriptive research, then your question should be why, because we always have to describe why it is happening. And if it is causal effect, right? So we are looking for cause and effect relationship between different variables, different parameters. By making the changes in one parameters, we are observing that what is the effect on the other parameter, right? So your objective should be defined with the consideration of the data analysis tools and techniques that you are going to apply in the future prospect. You have to design right now, right? So at the time of objective, you should be very clear that which analysis tools you are going to apply, and based on these tools, which sort of data that you are planning to cover up for your research work from the market, from the target audience, right? So this is a scientific way that you have to proceed for each and every steps. Hypothesis. So based on objectives, we have to define the hypothesis, which should be very clear, which should be very specific, and it should be testable for your research study, right? And based on this, you have to differentiate between the group of variables or relationship between the variables. And hypotheses are usually of two types. The first is null hypothesis and the second is alternate hypothesis. Null hypothesis as both the hypothesis has their acceptance and rejection criteria. So null hypothesis is going to be accepted when the p-value is greater than 0.05, means our p-value is more than the significance level or rejection region. An alternative hypothesis got accepted when the p-value is less than 0.05, that means significance level or rejection region. Significance of the study means societal importance, why you are doing this study, if you are getting the results of this study, then how this particular study is going to be beneficial to the society, how your study should contribute for the development and betterment for the society, how the different respondent, different stakeholders are going to be beneficial if they are referring your study, right? So that is what you have to make it clear, and that is how to write those significance of this study. So firstly, you have to see the general contribution that your research can be provide. Then after, you have to go to downwards at the individual level, at the product level, or whatsoever it is applicable to your research. And then you have to finally reach to the specific group of people to whom you are targeting, and how they are going to be beneficial out of this study. Geographical areas, so it should be human geography, it should be physical geography, it should be regional geography, and it should be integrated, means multiple. Clear? Depending upon the objective and the area that we are planning to cover up. Sampling plan, right? So I already discussed, sampling plan. So the sampling plan is always going to depend upon the objective of your research. Let's say if I'm asking certain questions, right, which should be known to everyone, which is very generalized and very basic. So it depends upon the title of your research, the objective of your research that you are doing. If the topic is generalized, means the answers can be given by each and every person to whom I can contact, whether I should explain them the purpose or not explain them the purpose. So I can go for random sampling. But I can assume that, let's say if I'm talking about some research on management perspective, I cannot assume that the School of Technology or School of Science people can know this particular aspect. So firstly, before asking the questions, I must have to inquire that the particular students or particular respondent is belonging to the commerce and management field. If yes, then I should proceed further for the analysis purpose. So I have already chosen my criteria that my respondent should be from the management field. So I have given some criteria. I have my convenience to ask the questions to selected people. So that is where I have to apply the convenience sampling, right? So depending upon the objective and the title that we have framed and the respondent that we are targeting, our sampling plan may, vary depending upon the title to title and objective to objective. Tools for data collection, I think we have enough discussion on this. Type of data, so this is nominal, ordinal, interval, and scale. So quickly, I'll go through that. What is nominal data? So nominal data means which have the category. What is the meaning of category? So let's say if I'm asking someone that what is your gender? So gender could be either male and female. So male and female are two categories, right? So this particular question has two group of responses. One is male, another one is female. Second thing which I have to see in the category that, sequence. If I'm asking these questions to the respondent, does sequence matters for me? Can anybody tell me if I'm asking, this particular question to the respondent gender, should I put male to be first or female to be second? Or should I put male to be second or female to be first? What should be my ideal sequence for these categories?
It does not matter.
Does not matter. So sequence does not matter for me, but categories are there. So these are nominal. This is nominal scale. But if the sequence does matters for the category, like, if I'm asking age, less than 20, 20 to 40, 41 to 60. So even layman person who is answering this questionnaire, they will expect that this age group should be in proper sequence. So here the sequence does matter for this particular question, and it is in the category. So this is ordinal, where the orders of the categories does matters. So this is ordinal. And the same question of age, I can make it open-ended, in which respondent can answer in numbers like 54, 36, and so on. So this is scale data. This is scale data. I hope it is clear. Numbers. Clear? And you can see this stock prices. Clear? Stock prices is one of the numbers. Clear? So this is how nominal, ordinal, and scale data you must be find this particular chosen categories in SPSS file whenever you are working for data analysis, right? So choosing variables, it should be independent, dependent. So independents are not affected by any of the other variables. This is called independent. And dependent are depending upon the effect of or changes happening in the independent variable, right? Category, we have already seen, we have categories. Continuous, we have seen, like, age, if I'm asking. So in terms of, let's say if I'm asking age like this, so this is continuous. But if I'm asking age in terms of, different categories like less than 20, 20 to 40, 41 to 60, so this is category. Quantitative and qualitative, we have enough discussion on this, so I'm not going into this. So data analysis tools and techniques. So these are the various data analysis tools and techniques that you can apply for your research work. So frequency analysis is pure frequency counting out of multiple categories like male and female. So male are 100 and female are 50 out of 150, right? So this is frequency. Descriptive means, what is the descriptive means? Let's say if I'm asking strongly agree to disagree from, Likert scale 1 to 5. So 3.5 is, from neutral to agree. If it is 3, then it is neutral. If it is 2.5, then it is from disagree to neutral category, right? So this is descriptive, where we can apply, measures of central tendencies like mean, median, mode can be possible. Chi-square is for association measurement, where both the variables either could be nominal and ordinal. There would not be any data which should be scale data if you are applying for chi-square. So for chi-square, you should have the data in terms of either nominal or ordinal scale. To check the impact measurement, you have parametric and non-parametric. So here, these are the various tests. There are a lot many tests in terms of parametrics and non-parametrics. But firstly, we have to check the normality. And based on the normality checking, we may decide which test is appropriate based on the categorical variables, number of category, right? Then exploratory factor analysis, which is called data reduction techniques, where the researcher would be able to get the number of factors which is affecting for the particular research. And whatever factors that they have developed, if they want to confirm the relationship between those factors through, convergent and discriminant validity, through mediation and moderation effect, so people can go for confirmatory factor analysis. Findings and conclusion, right? So whatever problems that we have defined, we have incorporated in terms of questions. Questions leads to data collection. Data collection leads to data analysis. Data analysis leads to interpretation. And finally, we have to conclude that what was the ultimate objective in the title and research problem have been answered at this stage of interpretation. And we must have to align all the works in the common platform in a synchronized manner. And recommendation that, you always have to recommend that, right? So which things we have taken into consideration in terms of, the aims of the research, key findings and outcomes, in that particular research work or report. And you must have to also highlight some importance or usefulness that your research is providing to the society. Right. So this is from my side. I'm making this platform open for question answer. If you have any questions, or any suggestions, any queries for your research, you can ask. Yes, any questions? Any questions, any suggestion? Any query related to your research, so you can ask.
Sir, I would like to know about this paper writing in a Scopus index journal. Actually, there is a different way to write a paper in Scopus, I think. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, can you repeat your question?
Sir, my question is, I have never written a paper in Scopus. So I would like to know something about this Scopus, sir, because nowadays everywhere we hear this Scopus. So I would like to know something about this, sir.
See, for Scopus, first of all, you have to start refer the Scopus paper. That is the first and primary requirement that you must have to fulfill, right? Because until and unless if you don't understand the Scopus types of, learning and the writing pattern, you'd not be able to write the Scopus paper. And, in the beginning of the session, I have already mentioned that now the shifting has been transferred from, earlier Scopus paper was focusing upon much on data analysis, findings, and all this aspect. But now their shifting has been shifted, and their focus has been shifted. And now they are more focusing upon, how you have drafted introduction and literature review with the consideration of what I have mentioned, that the conceptual models, the limitations of the paper, and how these limitations will be overcome in your research work with the identification of your research gap. And then after every step, you have to synchronize. Secondly, data analysis needs to be very proper in terms of proper application of data and analytical tools. If at all you are making scientifically any problems over there, then also it will lead to any problem, because it will not lead to any considerations, right? So that is where at the time of data collection, you have to be very vigilant that whatsoever data you are collecting, it should be up to the mark, and that is where everything should be taken care, so that at the later stage you will not have any, you don't have to come back, because it is irrevocable decisions, right? And finally, no Scopus paper without managerial implication and societal importance and author's contributions, right? So these are the few parameters that every Scopus paper needs to define, and that is where you have to justify.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, any other questions? Any query, any suggestions?
Good evening.
Good evening, madam. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sir, I've been hearing you. First of all, it was a wonderful session. Thank you so much. Very nice
Thank you.
insight we got from you on research. But then, like you said, quantitative research always has an edge over the qualitative one. And it clearly means that we should do research on primary data, meeting people, taking their inputs on things, and then using numbers and using some statistical tools, we have to draw the results, and then we have to write the findings. So, sir, how do we, the biggest challenge I feel that is there in this kind of study, quantitative, is uh, the collection of data. So, do you have any answer to this? Because I feel if there is always a population available for your study, because we may have great ideas in mind, but then when it comes to collecting data, it becomes a very big challenge, and that is when sometimes a researcher like me may feel demotivated also, because along with a full-time teaching job, all this becomes a little challenging. So, sir, kindly give your inputs on this. I'll be grateful.
See, there is no other way rather than, first of all, there is no other way, without the data collection, your research could be possible. And I'm not saying that you should not do qualitative research, because qualitative research has so many fundamentals. Are you doing qualitative research by just analyzing the critical findings of the other researcher? This is one qualitative, right? Another qualitative in this today's scenario is you can go for bibliometrics analysis, right? So nowadays, bibliometrics analysis in terms of qualitative research has a great scope in journals. Journals are looking for bibliometrics analysis, so for which you don't have to go anywhere, right? You can collect the qualitative research through Dimension AI and viewers. It will help you to do the research in a tremendous manner. So this is one way which you can do it. Second aspect is quantitative research. So quantitative research, again, it is not like that you always have to go into the market. Let's say if you are doing on research on finance and all this aspect, so you have certain data which is available on single clicks. So you can download those data. So this is also secondary research, but it is quantitative research. But yeah, if you are from marketing HR, and it's simply you are
Sir,
looking.
HR. Sir, it is HR, OB and HR.
Right, I understood. So I think for HR, I think again for marketing people there is a problem, but for HR I think does not have any problem, because if you are looking for some opinion of the person in your organization, and if you just drop an email through the convention of your vice chancellor or principal, so that everybody has to answer this as a part of compulsion, then also you can able to get the data. But the problem for the marketing people, because either they are a professor or either they are from marketing team, so they are not getting an edge of over this kind of things, right? But again, yeah, data collection is much needed things, but yeah, you can give some external parties to cover up the data. There are few data collection agencies are there, you can also give it to them if you are not getting a time for this.
All right, sir. Thank you so much.
Right. Yeah. Any more questions? Any other suggestions?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, madam.
Sir, my question is related to my research topic only. I'm working on ethical accounting. Um,
Okay.
so I'm not able to justify that why I'm taking this particular scope and also the sample. I'm taking the North India as a sample, and chartered accountants will be my sample. So I'm not able to justify because the earlier studies has been done in Western countries only. I do not have enough studies that has been done in India. So I am not able to justify that. My supervisor is not satisfied at all with my justifications. So if you can help me.
Yeah, I have done the research on ethical accounting. My personal research is there on ethical accounting. Right. Yeah. So if you need any detailed guidelines, you can always reach out to me. I have posted my number in the chat box. Right. But yeah, I'll give you some general guidelines. So ethical accounting, if you want to go for it, right? So ethical accounting, if see there is a common guidelines for everyone. If you are looking for some data through the online, and if much research has not been happen on this data, then you have to extend your boundaries, right? I'll give you one advice. In your research, it could be possible through bibliometrics analysis if you want to go for the secondary data evaluation part. But if you want to go for if you don't want to go for in this kind of things, and much research has not been happened through which you are not getting sufficient literature, then definitely you need to go for the primary research, by asking the CAs or some business agencies, right? So through which you can collect the data on this. I have already done one research work on this part. So you please reach out to me if you want some further guidance, because it is very wide, and more detailed advice that I have to give it to you. Because ethical accounting, we have to be very conscious enough, as far as covering all these aspects of the research, because very sensitive people are attached with it, and it is very sensitive and emotional topic that we should not directly touch upon on these things. But yeah, the research is quite possible. There is no doubt about this.
Thank you so much,
But
sir.
we have to minorly work out.
Yes, sir.
You
I
can,
will.
yeah, you can contact me if I have certain research papers. So I will share with you.
I will definitely reach to you, sir. I really need your help.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, any questions?
Yes, any other participant?
So thank you so much, all the participants, for joining today, and allowing me to. Thank you, Research Foundation of India, Ajay sir, Saurabh sir, and all the management of the Research Foundation of India. Thank you, Neha madam, for coordinating. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So, as we conclude this insightful 2 days workshop, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to all the participants for their active involvement and thoughtful contributions. A special word of thanks to our eminent speakers, Dr. Kunal Soni sir and Dr. Suman Datta sir, for sharing their profound knowledge with us. We are also deeply thankful to the organizing committee of Research Foundation of India and RFI-CARE, as well as all our supporting partners and sponsors, Padma University, Shodh Malwa, Eklavya University, JHERF, ARGA, and Edu Academy King for their gracious support, without which this meaningful initiative would not have been possible. So thank you so much, and we look forward to meeting you all again in future sessions with more intellectually stimulating topics. Till then, happy learning. Thank you so much.